In a significant diplomatic development, the United States has successfully brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, a crucial step following a week of escalating hostilities that raised fears of a wider military conflict in South Asia. The announcement made on May 10, 2025 comes after intense fighting, including missile strikes and aerial assaults, which have reportedly resulted in the deaths of at least 62 individuals, 31 in Pakistan and 31 in India, over the past several days. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio played a pivotal role in these negotiations, urging both parties to engage in constructive talks to de-escalate tensions. In a statement, Rubio emphasized the importance of dialogue, saying, "We urge both parties to find ways to de-escalate and offered U.S. assistance in starting constructive talks to avoid future conflicts." His efforts followed a series of missile exchanges that began when Indian forces targeted multiple sites in Pakistan in retaliation for a deadly attack in Indian-administered Kashmir in late April, which killed 25 tourists. Despite the ceasefire agreement being hailed as a breakthrough, skepticism emerged almost immediately. Hours after the announcement, India accused Pakistan of breaching the terms of the deal. Vikram Misri, India's foreign secretary, stated the ceasefire is being violated by Pakistan. "This intrusion is extremely condemnable and Pakistan is responsible for it." Such accusations underscore the fraught nature of relations between the two nuclear-armed neighbors, both of which have expressed a desire to avoid further escalation but remain deeply mistrustful. The ceasefire agreement was characterized as a full and immediate ceasefire by President Donald Trump, who also noted the U.S. as a facilitator in these discussions. Nonetheless, India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting downplayed Washington's role, claiming that the cessation of hostilities was worked out directly between the two nations. This contention highlights the complex dynamics at play as both countries navigate their national narratives amidst international involvement. International reactions have been swift, with the G7 and other nations urging restraint and calling for direct dialogue between India and Pakistan. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy emphasized the need for maximum restraint and encouraged both nations to engage in constructive dialogue toward a peaceful resolution. The ongoing conflict has seen both India and Pakistan deploying advanced military capabilities, including long-range missiles and drone technology, raising alarms about a potential arms race in the region. The situation has drawn the attention of other global players, with China and Saudi Arabia also stepping in to mediate, underscoring the geopolitical stakes involved. As the dust settles from this latest escalation, the future remains uncertain. Analysts are cautious but hopeful that the U.S.-brokered ceasefire could pave the way for more comprehensive peace talks. However, with strong nationalist sentiments and historical grievances on both sides, the path to lasting peace will require more than just an agreement to pause hostilities. The international community will be watching closely to see if this ceasefire can hold and lead to meaningful negotiations that address the underlying issues fueling the conflict. In a surprising twist that underscores the ongoing intersection of politics and media, former President Donald Trump has nominated Jeanine Pirro as the top federal prosecutor for Washington, D.C. This appointment has raised eyebrows, especially considering Pirro's lack of recent legal experience and her history of controversial commentary on Fox News. As the Trump administration continues to lean heavily on figures from the right-leaning network, this latest move has ignited discussions about the qualifications necessary for key governmental roles and the broader implications for American political discourse. Jeanine Pirro, who has not held a formal legal position in decades, is best known for her role as a host on Fox News, where she has spent the last 14 years. Her tenure at the network has been marked by a series of contentious statements and a fervent loyalty to Trump. In announcing her nomination, Trump described her as being in a class by herself, a statement that may reflect both his admiration for her loyalty and the unconventional nature of her qualifications. Critics, however, argue that her selection is emblematic of a troubling trend in which allegiance to the former president outweighs professional competence. Margaret Sullivan, a media columnist for The Guardian, highlights Piro's record at Fox News, which includes promoting unfounded claims of voter fraud following the 2020 election, claims that led to a significant defamation lawsuit against the network, resulting in an $800 million settlement. Additionally, her inflammatory remarks about U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar and calls for the cleansing of the FBI further complicate her suitability for the role of federal prosecutor. Trump's decision to appoint Piro follows a pattern of integrating former Fox News personalities into significant government positions. This growing trend raises questions about the qualifications and experiences deemed necessary for leadership in critical areas of governance. Tom Homan, another former Fox contributor, was appointed as Trump's border czar and has been pivotal in enforcing stringent immigration policies. Such appointments suggest a preference for loyalty over traditional qualifications, particularly in roles that influence national security and legal integrity. While Trump has often been criticized for appointing unqualified individuals to key positions, the rationale behind these selections appears rooted in a mutual reinforcement of political power and loyalty. Piro's unwavering support of Trump's policies and her vocal attacks on his adversaries have likely bolstered her candidacy even in the face of her lack of recent legal practice. This relationship has not gone unnoticed, as Matt Gertz from Media Matters notes that Piro has been a consistent cheerleader for Trump, aligning her public persona closely with his political agenda. However, the nomination's path forward remains uncertain. Although Trump has stated his intention to appoint Piro on an interim basis, the legality of consecutive appointments of acting U.S. attorneys may pose challenges. Furthermore, the ramifications of placing someone with Piro's background in such a pivotal role could reverberate throughout the legal system, particularly in a city where the prosecutorial office plays a critical role in federal law enforcement. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the implications of Trump's appointment of figures like Piro could extend beyond immediate legal concerns. It reflects a broader trend of merging media influence with political power, raising critical questions about the integrity of governmental institutions and the standards by which they are governed. Looking ahead, how this dynamic unfolds will likely shape not only the Trump administration's legacy but also the future of political appointments in the United States. In a troubling resurgence of a once nearly eradicated disease, measles cases in the United States have exceeded 1,000 for only the second time in 3 decades. This alarming figure, reported by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), highlights an escalating health crisis that has spread to at least 31 states since the outbreak began in January. With Texas bearing the brunt of the epidemic, hosting 709 of the total cases, health officials are sounding the alarm, particularly as 3 unvaccinated individuals, including 2 school-aged children, have already succumbed to the virus. The root of this resurgence can largely be traced to vaccination rates, with CDC data indicating that 96% of current cases involve individuals who are either unvaccinated or whose vaccination status remains unclear. As hospitals grapple with the influx of more than 120 hospitalized patients, the implications of this outbreak are dire, prompting calls for immediate action and concern over the public's health. Amid this urgent situation, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has faced significant backlash for his handling of the crisis. Despite the rising death toll and hospitalizations, Kennedy has downplayed the severity of the outbreak, attributing it to routine annual occurrences. His comments have drawn ire, particularly after he characterized the death of a 6-year-old boy from measles as not unusual. In a shift following criticism, Kennedy acknowledged the importance of the measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine but continued to promote unverified treatments and made controversial claims regarding the vaccine's contents, including unfounded allegations about aborted fetus debris. His remarks have raised eyebrows and fueled further skepticism about vaccines at a time when public trust is critical. Adding to the controversy, Kennedy announced plans to investigate the use of vitamins as possible treatments for measles, reflecting a broader trend within his administration that prioritizes alternative approaches over established medical guidance. This initiative has been met with skepticism by health experts who warned that it could undermine the urgent need for vaccination against measles and erode the existing framework of public health protections. The fallout from Kennedy's leadership has prompted significant political ramifications. Maryland Senator Angela Alsobrooks has announced plans to introduce a resolution of no confidence against him during a rally aimed at addressing what she views as a brewing public health crisis. Alsobrooks expressed her frustrations, stating she is sick of Kennedy's responses and has compiled a detailed list of grievances regarding his management of HHS. In the backdrop of these developments, President Donald Trump's administration continues to face scrutiny over its health policies and personnel decisions. The recent appointment of Dr. Casey Means as the new Surgeon General has raised eyebrows, with Kennedy defending her unconventional approach to medicine despite her lack of traditional credentials. This appointment and Kennedy's comments have sparked discussions about the administration's commitment to evidence-based health practices. As the country confronts this measles outbreak, the CDC remains steadfast in its recommendation for vaccinations as the most effective means to combat the disease. The agency warns that before the introduction of the measles vaccine, thousands were hospitalized annually, with hundreds losing their lives to the disease. With the current trajectory of the outbreak, public health experts are urging immediate action to restore trust in vaccinations and ensure the safety of communities across the nation. Looking ahead, the political ramifications of this health crisis will likely continue to unfold, particularly as calls for leadership accountability grow louder. The intersection of public health, vaccine skepticism, and political maneuvering presents a complex challenge for the administration, one that will require decisive action and renewed commitment to protecting public health to avert further tragedies. In a turbulent climate marked by significant political decisions, recent developments surrounding the Trump administration have ignited discussions about civil rights, public safety, and the legal framework underpinning American democracy. As the administration grapples with escalating tensions over immigration and trade policies, a focus on the legal and ethical implications of its actions has emerged, prompting both support and backlash from various quarters. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel recently highlighted the administration's efforts in combating drug-related and sex crimes, emphasizing the arrests made under their purview. "We are committed to restoring safety in our communities and dismantling the networks that perpetuate these crimes," Patel stated during a press briefing. This assertion aligns with the administration's broader agenda aimed at enhancing law enforcement capabilities and addressing public safety concerns. However, while the administration touts its achievements in crime reduction, it faces criticism for its handling of immigration cases, most notably the deportation of individuals like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an alleged MS-13 member. Bondi claimed that Garcia's deportation has made his family safer despite his wife publicly pleading for his return. "America is safer because he is gone," Bondi asserted. A statement that has drawn ire from those advocating for more humane immigration policies. Critics argue that such actions reflect a troubling approach to dismantling the lives of families based on allegations rather than convictions. In parallel, the administration is reportedly considering the suspension of habeas corpus, a fundamental legal protection allowing individuals to challenge unlawful detention. Stephen Miller, a senior advisor, indicated that discussions are ongoing, raising alarms among civil liberties advocates. The implications of such a move could be profound, fundamentally altering the balance between national security and individual rights. The prospect of suspending habeas corpus is particularly alarming in light of the Trump administration's history of controversial immigration policies and law enforcement practices. On the trade front, President Trump indicated a potential 80% tariff on Chinese imports, stating that it seems right ahead of upcoming negotiations in Switzerland. This move is part of a broader strategy to reshape the U.S.-China trade relationship, which has seen escalating tensions over tariffs and trade imbalances. "We are working towards a deal that benefits American workers while also ensuring fair trade practices," Trump emphasized. However, the administration's approach has been criticized for its potential to destabilize global markets and provoke further economic conflict. As lawmakers respond to the administration's actions, there is a growing push to preserve vital civil rights offices such as the Community Relations Service (CRS), which has played a crucial role in mediating racial tensions across the country. A coalition of House Democrats has urged Bondi to protect the CRS from potential cuts, arguing that its work is integral to maintaining peace and restoring trust within communities facing conflict. "We cannot afford to lose a service dedicated to conflict resolution and racial healing at a time when tensions are rising," the lawmakers stated in a letter to the Attorney General. The interplay of these developments underscores a critical moment in American governance as the Trump administration navigates complex issues at the intersection of civil rights, public safety, and international relations. As the landscape continues to evolve, the implications of these decisions will resonate far beyond political circles, impacting the lives of countless individuals and communities across the nation. Moving forward, the outcomes of trade negotiations, immigration policies, and the preservation of civil rights institutions will be pivotal in shaping the future of America's social fabric and legal landscape. In a pivotal moment for global trade, high-level negotiations between the United States and China resumed this weekend in Geneva as officials from both nations sought to mitigate escalating tariffs that have strained economic relations and threatened to destabilize the world economy. The talks, shrouded in secrecy and tension, come at a critical juncture following a series of aggressive tariff hikes implemented by the Trump administration, which saw U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods soar to a staggering average of 145%. The discussions commenced on Saturday, led by U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer alongside a delegation from China headed by Vice Premier He Lifeng. Despite the lengthy 10-hour negotiations, there was no immediate indication of progress, with key details remaining undisclosed. An anonymous official indicated that the sensitivity of the discussions warranted a cautious approach, underscoring the importance of the talks in potentially stabilizing global markets that have been roiled by the ongoing U.S.-China standoff. President Donald Trump, who has championed the use of tariffs as a primary tool of economic strategy since returning to office, had previously hinted at a possible reduction in tariffs, suggesting in a post on Truth Social that 80% tariff seems right, leaving it to his advisors to determine the specifics. This rhetorical flexibility stands in stark contrast to the hardline stance taken earlier, where tariffs were employed not only as a means to address trade deficits but also as leverage in broader geopolitical conflicts, including concerns over intellectual property theft and unfair trade practices by China. Experts like Sun Yun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center, remain skeptical about the likelihood of a meaningful breakthrough, noting that the best-case scenario from the Geneva meeting would involve a simultaneous de-escalation of tariffs from both sides. Even a small reduction would send a positive signal. "It cannot just be words," she emphasized, highlighting the need for tangible actions rather than mere rhetoric. The stakes of these negotiations are particularly high given the bilateral trade between the U.S. and China, which exceeded $660 billion last year. The tariffs imposed by both nations have not only disrupted this trade but have also had ripple effects on global supply chains and markets. The U.S. has accused China of unfair practices, including coercing foreign companies to divulge trade secrets and artificially propelling its own tech industry through subsidies. These long-standing grievances have formed the crux of U.S. trade policy, particularly as the U.S. grapples with a substantial trade deficit that reached $263 billion last year. As talks continue, the broader implications for global trade and economic stability loom large. Countries heavily reliant on U.S.-China trade are watching closely, with markets reacting sensitively to any news coming from the negotiations. The first day of talks ended without public commentary from either side, but the backdrop of the opulent Villa Saladin overlooking Lake Geneva served as a striking reminder of the high stakes involved. Meanwhile, the U.S. has also been engaging with other nations regarding trade, including Switzerland, where additional tariffs were announced. Swiss officials expressed concerns about the potential impact these measures could have on key industries like watches and chocolate, emphasizing that increased trade tensions are not in their best interest. As the negotiations are set to resume on Sunday, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a signal that could ease tensions and restore a more cooperative trade environment. With both nations at a crossroads, the outcome of these talks may very well dictate the direction of global trade policies in the years to come, making it imperative for leaders to find common ground amidst their long-standing disputes. In a dynamic moment for U.S. economic policy, the Trump administration is actively navigating the complexities of international trade, seeking to de-escalate tensions while emphasizing a robust stance in negotiations with China. As the Select USA Investment Summit approaches, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick has voiced a compelling call to action, stating the time to invest in America is now. This sentiment reflects a strategic pivot aimed at positioning the United States as a prime destination for foreign direct investment. Amidst ongoing tariff disputes that have shaped the global economic landscape. Set to take place from May 11 to 14, 2025, the Select USA Investment Summit is anticipated to attract over 5,000 participants from more than 90 international markets. The event is not only a platform for discussions but also a significant opportunity for deal-making. Lutnick highlighted the administration's ambitions to attract trillions of dollars in new investments, reinforcing the belief that the U.S. can reclaim its status as the leading global investment hub. President Donald Trump is committed to bringing in trillions of dollars in new investment into the United States, Lutnick emphasized, underscoring the government's proactive stance in fostering favorable conditions for foreign capital. The summit boasts an impressive lineup of speakers, including high-profile executives from major corporations such as Mercedes-Benz and Siemens USA, alongside influential government figures. This diverse array of participants indicates the high stakes and serious political implications of the discussions that will unfold. Governors from both major political parties are also set to promote their states as attractive investment locations, showcasing a united front in the quest for economic growth. In 2020, the Select USA program facilitated over $135 billion in new investment commitments, creating more than 105,000 jobs. However, the stakes are even higher this year as the Trump administration simultaneously navigates the turbulent waters of ongoing trade negotiations with China. The potential for a significant breakthrough looms, with Lutnick suggesting that the administration aims to not only alleviate the pressures of tariffs but also to redefine the terms of trade that will ultimately benefit American industries. As markets react to the uncertainty surrounding the administration's tariff policies, Lutnick remains optimistic about the administration's direction. Amazing. A president who actually does what he says, he remarked, hinting at the administration's commitment to tangible results in its trade approach. The juxtaposition of aggressive tariff strategies, termed by Trump as Liberation Day, with efforts to secure foreign investment illustrates a complex balancing act that could reshape the U.S. economic landscape. Furthermore, the recent announcement of a U.S.-UK trade agreement marks a significant development, with Trump heralding it as a breakthrough trade deal. This move may signal the administration's intent to forge stronger bilateral ties while it concurrently addresses the challenges posed by China. Lutnick's insights suggest a broader coalition may be forming against China as U.S. allies seek to navigate their own interests amid shifting global trade dynamics. Looking ahead, the Select USA Investment Summit promises to be a pivotal moment for U.S. economic policy, potentially setting the stage for a new era of foreign investment and trade relations. As discussions unfold and deals are brokered, the administration's ability to effectively manage its trade relationships while fostering a favorable investment climate will be critical in determining the long-term trajectory of the U.S. economy. The coming days will reveal whether these efforts can indeed translate into concrete outcomes that bolster both domestic and international confidence in American markets.